Hari Om. Let us now continue our study of verse 8 of this great text, Vivekachudamani. I will read the verse for the sake of continuity and then pick up the thread from where we left off in the last to last capsule. Shankaracharya says, Ato vimuktयै prayatet vidvan संन्यस्तबाह्यार्थसुखस्पृहः सन्तं महान्तं समुपेत्य देशिकं तेनोपदिष्टार्थसमाहितात्मा. Shankaracharya is now beginning to lay out the steps leading up to Jnana Yoga. The first thing that needs to be achieved is sadhana chatushtayam. This we had all studied in the Introduction to Vedanta series and in the lovely primer book, primer text, Tattva Bodha. Sadhana Chatushtayam is an important qualifying round to prepare the student to make him Jnana Yoga worthy. Just like a vehicle needs to be roadworthy, an aircraft needs to be airworthy, a ship needs to be seaworthy. Likewise, a student needs to be Jnana Yoga worthy. So, sadhana chatushtayam is an important qualifying round, which includes 4 factors, namely Viveka, Vairagyam, Mumukshutvam, and Shatka Sampatti, stated in Sanskrit. Recalling Swami Paramarthananda's famous 4 Ds that he uses to indicate these 4 factors, they are discrimination, equating to Viveka, dispassion, equating to Vairagyam, desire, equating to Mumukshutvam, and discipline, equating to Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Discrimination, dispassion, desire for moksha, and the 6-fold disciplines. In this verse, Adi Shankaracharya uses the word vidvan in the first line to refer to an Atma Anatma Viveki. Atma Anatma Viveki. And then Adi Shankaracharya says, Vimuktyai prayateta vidvan. In this word, Adi Shankara also includes the meaning of one being intelligent. It is only one, it is only the person who works for moksha. Prayateta vidvan. Vimuktyai prayateta vidvan. He alone is a vidwan who works for his or her liberation. In the sense, who works to discover his or her own immaculate self. He is a vidwan. Everyone else is an avidwan, an unintelligent human being. He is very categorical in saying this. Ato vimuktyai prayateta vidvan sanyasya bahyartha sukhasprahas san. And then comes the next qualification of vairagyam. Viveka janya vairagyam. It is not a grapes are sour vairagyam, it is a viveka janya vairagyam in the sense, after examining, after doing pariksha of by using the acronym OMACT, Swamiji's OMACT, Swami Paramarthananda's OMACT acronym, after sufficiently discriminating between Atma and Anatma, having understood them thoroughly, it is important that one knows both aspects, both Atma and Anatma. Then, by this well developed Viveka Shakti, he develops detachment towards the world and the senses that bring in sense pleasures. His direction changes as a result of developing Viveka and Vairagyam. Swami Paramarthananda says Viveka and Vairagyam are twin brothers. They go together always. The more the Viveka is developed, Viveka Shakti is developed, the more is the Vairagyam, the more pronounced is Vairagyam. It doesn't mean that one must not get involved in enjoying worldly pleasures. No, that's not what our Shastras mean. It means our Shastras say in many, many places, lead a balanced life. That is all we expect of you. Samatvam is to be practiced. Level-headedness. Be mindful of your activities. Don't get lost in the world to such an extent that you ignore the very purpose of this human janma. Let it not shroud your Viveka Shakti. Worldly pleasures should not be allowed beyond a particular line. There should be a Lakshmana Rekha drawn, beyond which Worldly pleasures are not allowed to enter. Entry restricted. No entry. We must know our priorities. As Swamiji says, is it pickle for curd rice or is it curd rice for pickle? We will now pick up the thread from where we left off in the last to last capsule and take our discussion forward of this more or less transition verse in which Shankaracharya is beginning to talk about the four qualifications. Sensory pleasures, Swamiji says, sensory pleasures are not condemned outright. That's the point we need to keep in mind. Are not condemned outright, but should serve as a supporting role. Serve a supporting role. They are not the be all and end all. They are only a stepping stone. Even Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga are stepping stones to Jnana Yoga, to Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. They should serve a supporting role, not dominate our lives. As Krishna beautifully says in chapter 6 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karana Muchyate Yoga Rudhasya Tasyaiva Shamah Karana Muchyate. Arurukshor Muner Yogam. He who wants to rise in the spiritual ladder must take to Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karana Muchyate. Once he or she has achieved purity of Antakaranam, Yoga Rudhasya Tasyaiva Shamah Karana Muchyate. Enough of Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. They have served their purpose. Move on, says Krishna, to Jnana Yoga. Don't get stuck at Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga levels, says Lord Krishna in that verse. So they should serve a supporting role and not dominate our lives. With clarity on priorities, one gains time, important, and focus for higher pursuits. One gains a lot of time. Swamiji talks about port reduction. Port reduction. Very important acronym again. I'd like to expand that acronym. It contains 4 letters, P-O-R-T. Swamiji says port reduction, by which he means reduce possessions, reduce obligatory duties, reduce your number of relations, friends with acquaintances, and reduce the number of your transactions. Reduce port reduction. Reduce possessions, reduce obligatory duties, reduce the number of relationships that you have by way of friends, by way of acquaintances, by way of wishing on birthdays, on wedding anniversaries, on socializing, etc. Reduce transactions. If you reduce port, Swamiji says, you will find that you have a lot of time and the availability of mind. And for what? Swamiji would ask. Not for watching TV serials. Not for watching TV serials, not for reading some other kind of literature, but to focus and utilize the time available on higher pursuits. The time and mind should be made available for pursuing the highest goal, moksha. I tell you, once it is discovered, then, as Adi Shankaracharya says in his famous Atma Bodha, in verse 54, he says, Yallabhanna paro labha yatsukhanna param sukham yajnananna param jnanam. And what is that? That is to be known. Tad brahmetyavadharayet. He says, realize that to be Brahman, beyond the attainment of which there is no greater attainment, beyond whose bliss there is no greater bliss, and beyond whose knowledge there is no greater knowledge. There's nothing more to be achieved. That is why Adi Shankaracharya and all our gurus say that it is worth the while, worth every minute that you spend in the pursuit of yourself. It's worth the while. There's nothing better. No other vocation equals it. No other activity equals it. Which is why Swamiji and the rest of our gurus, Guru Parampara, say that we must reduce our port and use the available time and mind to focus on achieving moksha. Hence, Shankaracharya says, the wise person, having gained this perspective, dedicates or should dedicate himself to liberation. Dedicate himself to discovering liberation. Vimuktyai prayateta. Vimuktyai prayateta. Using his time and energy for spiritual growth. We will pick up the thread of this interesting verse and discussion in the following capsules and take our study forward. Until then, Hari Om. Om Durjana Sajjano Bhuyat Sajjana Shantimapnuyad Shanto Muccheta Bandhebhyah Muktaschanyan Vimochayet Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.